lavoro dietro, di editing.
Ciao Gianfranco. I asked my colleagues if it's necessary to speak Italian or English, but I understand Italian, but I'll speak English. No, no, no. Italian version. in collaboration with the Parliament.
So I think that we can begin. So thank you to everyone. I'm Leonardo Panetta, I'm the Brussels correspondent of the Italian television Mediaset, but today I'm here to moderate this panel based on the EU STEM Observatory. So we will talk about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but also of Europe. And because we want to see what Europe is doing in order to reduce the gap also with the huge competitors like China, like United States. I will be very, very quick at the beginning because we have the host of this event. Please let me introduce you, Pina Picerno and Isabel Benjumea. I hope that the pronunciation is good. So, okay, Pina Picerno, if you want to begin with the introduction. Thank you.
Grazie.
You need, okay, it's okay. The
Yes,
button is
it's working. Yeah. I was speaking Italian. Yeah.
We have the translation.
We have the translation. Yeah. Grazie Leonardo, grazie a tutti voi. È davvero un piacere accogliervi al Parlamento europeo per la presentazione della nuova edizione dell'Osservatorio europeo STEM, e desidero ringraziare innanzitutto Deloitte, la Deloitte Foundation italiana, tutti i partner coinvolti per il loro impegno in questa iniziativa, per aver portato questa discussione importante all'interno del Parlamento. Da diversi anni insieme a Deloitte ci occupiamo di riflettere insieme intorno appunto ai percorsi di formazione intorno appunto alle STEM, e oggi con rinnovato entusiasmo e impegno ci occupiamo di ridiscutere di tutte queste questioni, perché come dire, ci permettono di affrontare anche un tema che è davvero essenziale per il futuro dell'Europa, perché la nostra Unione sta affrontando delle trasformazioni profondissime in campo digitale, in campo verde, in campo industriale. Per gestire questi cambiamenti noi abbiamo bisogno di competenze scientifiche solide, di competenze anche tecniche solide, e dobbiamo garantire che tutti abbiano la possibilità di sviluppare queste competenze in modo equo. E questa è la ragione per cui l'Osservatorio europeo STEM è così importante. Dal 2020 analizza come l'istruzione STEM si stia evolvendo in Europa e dà voce alle studentesse, in particolare agli studenti, ai giovani professionisti, alle università e anche alle imprese. E questa nuova edizione, che è basata su diverse interviste fatte in 10 diversi paesi, offre un quadro assolutamente chiaro degli ostacoli che le studentesse, che gli studenti incontrano, e delle opportunità su cui noi abbiamo bisogno di ragionare e che abbiamo bisogno di creare. Solo uno studente europeo su 4 sceglie un percorso STEM, e tra questi appena 1 su 3 è una donna, nonostante appunto le donne rappresentino appunto la maggioranza poi dei laureati in Europa. E questo è un divario che è rimasto purtroppo immutato nel corso dell'ultimo decennio, e questo squilibrio naturalmente limita la capacità dell'Europa di innovare, quindi limita la nostra capacità nel campo dell'innovazione e indebolisce in modo determinante la nostra competitività. Sapete che noi molto spesso ragioniamo, penso agli autorevoli richiami di Mario Draghi, alle discussioni che si fanno dentro questo Parlamento, di come vogliamo insieme puntare e rafforzare sulla la nostra competitività, e questo è un punto assolutamente decisivo per migliorare la competitività della nostra Unione. E questo limite, questo squilibrio rende anche più difficile rispondere alle sfide del presente e alle sfide del futuro, dall'intelligenza artificiale alla cyber security, dalla transizione verde alla mobilità sostenibile. Le STEM non sono un campo specialistico per pochi addetti ai lavori, sono una risorsa strategica per la resilienza del nostro continente e anche per l'autonomia del nostro continente. Sappiamo che il divario di genere è molto preoccupante, molte donne, ne abbiamo parlato tante volte anche nelle occasioni che Deloitte ogni anno organizza. Io ho il piacere di collaborare ogni anno con Deloitte nell'organizzazione di queste riflessioni. Molte donne, sappiamo, vengono scoraggiate fin dalla giovane età, dalle giovanissima età, di intraprendere studi scientifici, e poi chi prosegue, nonostante tutto, mi verrebbe da dire, si trova poi a dover fare i conti con un sacco di stereotipi, lo sapete, con la mancanza di modelli di riferimento e con disparità poi salariali importanti quando entrano nel mondo del lavoro. E queste non sono situazioni isolate, perché riflettono purtroppo dei modelli culturali che continuano a frenare inesorabilmente il nostro sviluppo. Dunque, quando il potenziale delle donne è limitato, inevitabilmente diventa limitato anche il potenziale del nostro continente, il potenziale dell'Europa, che noi siamo in grado di mettere in campo. Quindi che cosa significa questo? Che promuovere l'istruzione STEM significa garantire pari accesso appunto alle donne nei vari settori di cui stiamo parlando, e questa deve essere una responsabilità che dobbiamo condividere. Il fatto che questa riflessione sia promossa insieme a colleghi di altri gruppi politici sta a significare anche l'impegno del Parlamento europeo, che riguarda tutti i maggiori gruppi, il PPE, in particolare ICR con la collega Sberna, proprio a voler insieme lavorare, perché credo questo sia un dato politico molto rilevante, al di là anche delle differenze. Sapete che il Parlamento europeo è il luogo nel quale le differenze si confrontano, non sono mai un elemento di debolezza, sono sempre un elemento di ricchezza del dibattito pubblico, e soprattutto intorno a questioni fondamentali che riguardano le sfide che il nostro continente affronta nel presente e del futuro. Queste differenze sono la ricchezza di cui noi abbiamo davvero molto bisogno, perché le scuole, i percorsi formativi da soli non bastano, le scuole da sole non ce la fanno, bisogna lavorare insieme alle istituzioni pubbliche, alle istituzioni come il Parlamento europeo, insieme all'università, insieme alla società civile. Tutte le istituzioni europee devono avere un ruolo fondamentale nel sostenere i sistemi educativi che introducano appunto le competenze STEM fin dai primi livelli scolastici, promuovere l'interdisciplinarità e offrire appunto delle occasioni di formazione e di opportunità, diciamo, solide, perché se l'Europa vuole restare competitiva, i nostri luoghi di lavoro devono permettere a giovani e donne di crescere, di innovare e di assumere sempre di più dei ruoli di leadership. Insomma, la riassumerei così, perché non abbiamo molto tempo e gli interventi sono tanti. L'inclusione non è una questione di equità, l'inclusione è una questione anche di forza economica, di capacità che noi siamo economica che siamo in grado di mettere in campo. E il messaggio dell'osservatorio STEM è molto chiaro: l'Europa ha bisogno di più talenti e deve coltivarli in modo aperto, in modo inclusivo, e questo significa investire nell'educazione e dare agli studenti accesso ai laboratori, strumenti moderni, sostenere gli insegnanti, contrastare gli stereotipi ovunque emergano, in classe, in famiglia o sul lavoro. E soprattutto è necessario riconoscere la conoscenza scientifica e tecnica come una risorsa strategica per la nostra Unione. Dunque io concludo davvero ringraziando tutti voi per la partecipazione, ringraziando Deloitte e la Deloitte Foundation per l'impegno. Spetta a noi, spetta ai decisori politici, ai leader della comunità, trasformare queste indicazioni, le vostre indicazioni che sono emerse con grande chiarezza, in azioni concrete, perché il futuro dell'Europa sarà costruito sulle opportunità che noi saremo capaci di dare alle prossime generazioni. Dunque grazie davvero, grazie ancora a Deloitte e alla Deloitte Foundation, e buon proseguimento di lavori di questa interessante giornata, quindi grazie.
Thanks to Pina Picerno for her intervention. And now the other co-host, Isabel Benjumea, member of the European Parliament. She's Spanish and she's also used to be an entrepreneur, so she knows very well this topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to first say that it's an honor to co-host this event with Pina Picerno. And also I want to thank your team and my team for all the help that they put together to put this event in place. And also I want to say hello to Vice President Antonella Sberna and dear colleagues and everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to the European Parliament. Also, thank you Deloitte for taking the initiative to hold this debate about STEM skills, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. I have always defended that training in digital skills, as well as financial and humanistic education, must be the pillars of the educational curriculum. We believe in a digital world, and we live in a digital world, where each of the major advances, discoveries, and research efforts are clearly linked to digital development. This has been the case over recent decades and will even be more in the decades to come. We are living through a constant digital transformation that forces us to engage in an endless adaptation of our economic, labor production, educational and scientific systems and environments, and also of the management of the public administration, because each and every sphere of our lives depends on the large extent of this technological and digital evolution, because it would be impossible to compete in a global market economy without the proper use of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. For all these reasons, it is essential for young people to be trained in these disciplines from the early ages. These disciplines must be included in the educational curriculum from primary education onwards, taught by teachers with the necessary training and qualifications, with the required means and materials. Whatever educational pathway a young person wishes to pursue, and whatever professional career they wish to follow, training in digital skills will be of great help to them in all possible scenarios. From a surgeon operating thousands of kilometers away to a secondary school teacher who teaches history using the best educational resources available, as well as a car mechanic or a cook or a small entrepreneur who wants to set up their own business. All these professions, and most of the ones that come to mind right now, will require the use and knowledge of digital skills, in essence, STEM disciplines. In addition, we must be honest, I believe that we must be honest with the young people and explain to them the reality of the labor market that they will face in the future. Of course, they must have complete freedom to choose the training and the profession that each of them wishes, but they must receive appropriate guidance from the secondary education stage onwards, guidance that explains to them honestly and transparently the reality of each of the professional options. Any independent and rigorous studies, as the one that you are discussing today, points to the great number of opportunities that these fields are generating in today's labor market, with a tendency to multiply in the labor market for the future. How can we then fail to offer these skills to the young generations? How can we not explain to them the endless opportunities that these studies and this knowledge open up for them? And of course, and I'm not thinking only of children and teenagers in school, I'm also thinking of young people who are considering changing jobs, and of adults who have lost their jobs. Training for unemployed people, for entrepreneurs, or for anyone who wants to make a change in their professional career must include this option. Up to this point, I sense that we will all be in agreement. But allow me to introduce some additional issues which I believe are of relevant importance as well. First of all, as I have said several times in the course of my speech, we are talking about making the right choice. We are talking about offering young people the opportunity to choose these studies, which must be properly offered by educational institutions, by universities, vocational training, and guidance and employment services. But it's their choice. Therefore, I do not believe that the issue on which we should focus is in the percentage of students who take this subject, the percentage of university students who choose STEM-related degrees, or whether we look at the percentage of male or female students. The question is, have they all had the option to pursue these studies? Have these subjects been explained and presented to them clearly and properly? Do they form part of a national education curriculum, and do they have the means and resources required to be taught in the high standard? In my opinion, these are the questions we must answer, and is where I believe we should focus our efforts. The world also needs humanities, philosophy, literature, arts. Philosophy and history are disciplines that have accompanied all the progress of our world, helping to understand and explain it. The human hand has portrayed, painted, and created the most wonderful works that continue to move and stir us, no matter how many centuries have passed. Poetry, the novel, and the theater have created fictional worlds that have made us think, cry, laugh, question ourselves and understand the world. Philosophical essays have helped us develop the critical spirit that allows us to be free. Let us never think that this can be abolished by the tyranny of technological development. For this reason, we must never fail to give humanities a privileged place in our education system. They are the indispensable pillar of human knowledge and understanding. And of course, let us try to strengthen this subject using the best tools at our disposal. This is where technology comes in, as a companion that enhances the possibilities, as a tool that enables us to spend our research, our access to information. But let us never fall into that mistaken confrontation between art and technology, between person and machine, nor into opposing technological progress out of an age-old fear of the creation of new opportunities, but neither into believing that every innovation is good simply because it's something new, or that all technological knowledge stands above humanistic knowledge because it supposes immediate profitability. Neither opposition nor imposition. Thank you very much, and I hope that is useful for you, this debate.
Thank you to Isabel Benjumea. I want to recall the fact that the interviews of Deloitte were held in Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and Malta, for instance. And from Malta, Malta is the country of the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola. She speaks also Italian, but I think that it will be in English this intervention. So I ask to Soler.
Ladies and gentlemen, the results of the third edition of the EU STEM Observatory confirm a reality we can no longer ignore. Europe's future relies on STEM. Yet, the data shows only 1 in 4 university students in Europe study STEM subjects, and among them, just 30% are women compared to 70% of men. Engineering and ICT especially remain the most unbalanced fields. It is a reality that is tough to hear. But that is precisely why your research is so important. It shows us where the gaps are. It helps us keep track of our progress, and crucially, it steers our policies in the right direction. Make no mistake, this isn't about a lack of talent in Europe. This continent changed how we communicate. It developed the medicines that help people live longer. It transformed the way the world moves. Europe has always been the home of builders, of innovators, of inventors. What we need to do better is to spot that potential, enable it, and then put it to work. The European Parliament gets that. With programs like Erasmus Plus and Horizon Europe, we're already matching our commitment with action. But as discussions on the next EU long-term budget are underway, now is the time to go even further. Let me assure you that the European Parliament will keep fighting for stronger investment in education, professional reskilling, and to remove socio-economic and cultural barriers that hinder access to STEM. Just a few weeks ago, we voted for more targeted initiatives to motivate, to support more women to step into the field. not only as a matter of fairness, but as a driver of economic growth and progress. The future of Europe depends on STEM, and that needs everyone on board. Before I conclude, I also want this opportunity to underscore the work that this House is doing to remove the unnecessary bureaucracy that is holding back innovation, including STEM innovation in Europe. Our belief is simple. Our people, our companies should focus less on paperwork and more on making breakthrough discoveries and realizing their ideas. Thank you for inviting me back to address your conference, and more importantly, thank you for your continued commitment to this issue. I wish you productive discussions ahead.
President of the European Parliament, and from the President of the European Parliament to the Vice President, from Malta we go toward Italy, so I give the floor to Antonella Sberna.
Grazie, buonasera a tutti, grazie alla Fondazione Deloitte per questo invito, grazie al suo Presidente Guido Borsani che ritrovo con grande piacere in questi palazzi, grazie a tutti gli ospiti, grazie per aver realizzato questa ricerca, questa produzione di dati che in realtà condivido quello che hanno detto tutti coloro che mi hanno preceduto, perché sono riflessioni concrete che ritengo possano aiutare chi come noi si trova ad affrontare ogni giorno l'attività parlamentare, ma anche la discussione all'esterno dell'attività parlamentare, ad avere delle chiavi di lettura, ad avere dei dati, ad avere dei numeri e ad avere anche contezza formale di come poter indirizzare le nostre azioni. Chiaramente i numeri sono stati già dati, insomma le materie STEM sono da una parte quelle più ricercate dal punto di vista del personale, dalle aziende, dai sistemi produttivi soprattutto europei, e quelle che si trovano meno fondamentalmente. Quindi diciamo che c'è questo sbilanciamento tra la grande domanda di queste professionalità e la grande offerta che data da sistemi o da condizioni diciamo non completamente dipendenti anche da noi si sono verificate. È chiaro che gli uomini più delle donne, c'è un dato insomma importante, che c'è una grossa sperequazione tra la presenza delle donne, no? Sia nelle materie STEM dal punto di vista già lavorativo, ma anche nell'accesso all'istruzione lavorativa, quindi c'è proprio un disincentivo probabilmente strutturale all'accesso da parte delle donne rispetto a questi settori, e questo può essere dato da tantissimi fattori diversi, da tantissime condizioni che da una parte non sono magari troppo appealing dal punto di vista delle materie, dall'altra chiaramente comportano, proprio per la complessità anche poi delle professionalità che per lavorare all'interno di settori appunto che prevedono queste formazioni comportano, sono disincentivanti a volte. Allora noi all'interno del Parlamento, io vi porto la mia esperienza all'interno di questa istituzione. Io sono responsabile per la settimana europea dell'uguaglianza di genere, e il Parlamento europeo ogni anno svolge, diciamo di solito intorno ai primi di novembre, questa settimana dove ci si ferma a riflettere su quali sono le politiche che inizialmente all'interno dell'istituzione vengono adottate per mettere le donne nelle condizioni di poter agire e lavorare meglio. La direttiva che c'è stata in contemporanea diciamo dal 2023 sulla trasparenza salariale, ad esempio, è un altro degli elementi che abbiamo analizzato, no? In queste settimane in cui ci siamo confrontati. Anche tante statistiche che vengono promosse, come quella che voi proponete oggi, ci danno un quadro. Allora io credo che momenti come questo servano da una parte per tirare fuori i dati e dall'altra per rinnovare degli impegni da parte delle istituzioni, perché voi lo presentate oggi alle istituzioni, ma anche da parte, diciamo, all'esterno, da parte delle imprese, da parte degli enti di ricerca, da parte del sistema dell'istruzione, che probabilmente deve fare un lavoro congiunto per trovare il modo di mettere nelle condizioni i nostri giovani, perché noi parliamo di giovani, vogliamo dare un futuro ai nostri giovani, è in questo momento e grazie a questi strumenti, anche grazie al lavoro di questo osservatorio, che dobbiamo poter tirare, no, le somme e dire quali possono essere le azioni che da qui a breve possiamo mettere possiamo mettere in campo. Il governo italiano, ad esempio, sia sulle linee del PNRR, no, rispetto all'istruzione, ha messo in campo tutta una serie di incentivi proprio per favorire, diciamo, l'accesso alle materie STEM, se vogliamo, chiaramente con il dovuto come si dice, distinguo, sin dall'asilo nido, cioè la possibilità per i bambini, per i giovani e per i ragazzi anche all'interno delle scuole di venire a contatto con la tecnologia, che non significa no, mettergli il telefono davanti e farli giocare al ristorante come a volte no, ci accusano, no, da genitori.
I'm guilty of this.
Tutti, un pochino tutti più o meno. Ma è la possibilità di far conoscere ai ragazzi, ai giovani, ai bambini che nel mondo della tecnologia, nel mondo del digitale, nel mondo dell'informatica, nel mondo della cybersicurezza, magari a livelli più avanti, diciamo, nella formazione, possono essere materie di grande interesse, non così tanto impossibili e complesse, perché a volte è solo la percezione della complessità che magari disincentiva l'avvicinamento, e quindi questo appunto dal punto di vista della linea di sviluppo addirittura del PNRR. Dall'altro c'è stata addirittura una legge, anche quella nel 2023, che ha istituito la settimana nazionale delle STEM, che ovviamente non è un provvedimento formale che costringe l'accesso alla scuola, ma è una settimana in cui il Ministero dell'Istruzione e tutti coloro che aderiscono a questa settimana fanno attività di promozione, di presentazione, di anche spiegazione di quali sono da una parte le opportunità e da una parte i percorsi, perché magari a volte si ambisce a un ruolo professionale ma magari non si riesce a farlo perché non si sa qual è la strada migliore per arrivarci. Allora io penso che anche la visione della Commissione europea, no? Che è passata da STEM a STEAM, no? È stata diciamo proposta questa nuova visione, cioè unire la parte umanistica, lo diceva bene la collega, cioè la parte, diciamo, di umanità rispetto, no? alla parte, diciamo, più tecnica e formale. Io penso che intanto sia un salto culturale importante, non sia questo dia l'idea anche che non c'è un divaricamento generale tra alcune materie ed altre, ma che, diciamo, nel coltivare le persone, nel coltivare i percorsi di studio, nel coltivare anche la contaminazione tra varie materie, si promuove anche l'accesso alle STEM. E poi io credo che, e vado a concludere, le istituzioni debbano, alla luce di tutto questo, lavorare sempre di più e meglio affinché ci siano servizi, da una parte la promozione, no, di questi ambiti professionali, dall'altra la possibilità di dire ci sono anche servizi che coadiuvano specialmente le donne nella maggior parte dei casi a sostenere dei percorsi di studio chiaramente un pochino più complessi, e poi chiaramente durante lo sbocco professionale dei servizi che possano conciliare la vita lavorativa e quella familiare. Quindi grazie per aver promosso questo momento, e magari l'anno prossimo, se avrete in animo di fare lo stesso, potremo presentarlo magari durante la settimana europea dell'uguaglianza di genere, in modo tale che possa essere, no, un tassello in più, che in un momento in cui c'è un'amplificazione di comunicazione magari possiamo mettere in evidenza dei dati e anche dei passi avanti rispetto a quello che magari avete fatto già in questi anni. Quindi grazie e buon lavoro a tutti.
So, thanks to Antonella Sberna, we already booked our agenda for the next year, so okay. And so, give the floor to Alberto Labella, che is the first counselor of the Italian Permanent Representation to the EU. So, go Alberto.
Grazie, buon pomeriggio anche da parte mia, e vorrei iniziare dicendo che fa un certo piacevole effetto ad essere il primo uomo a prendere la parola dopo un'autorevole serie di donne, insomma, che ci rappresentano, e quindi bene ha fatto Deloitte a creare questo tipo di panel. Grazie da parte della rappresentanza permanente d'Italia presso l'Unione Europea. Sono qui, diciamo, a sostituire l'ambasciatore Vincenzo Celeste, che avrebbe tanto voluto prendere parte all'evento, ma purtroppo un impegno improrogabile non glielo ha consentito. Perché grazie da parte dell'istituzione che rappresenta l'Italia presso l'Unione Europea? Perché credo che sia molto importante avere una realtà italiana, Deloitte Italia, con la fondazione anche per il Mediterraneo centrale, essere un po' il motore di questo rapporto, di questa tradizione che si va consolidando, perché indica una tendenza, perché offre dei dati sulla base dei quali le istituzioni poi possono operare le loro scelte e indicare un po' la strada da perseguire per colmare un divario con altri competitori globali dell'Unione Europea, che invece in quanto a diffusione dell'apprendimento di queste materie STEM sono insomma in una fase più avanzata rispetto al continente europeo. L'Europa, credo si possa dire, non ha un problema di eccellenze ai vertici, diciamo, della ricerca mondiale o dell'attuazione pratica nelle professioni che applicano queste materie. Probabilmente dobbiamo allargare la base. Ed è questa la direzione che stanno prendendo tanto le istituzioni europee quanto il governo italiano, che guarda con interesse alle recenti proposte della Commissione nel quadro della Unione, delle competenze, e guarda con interesse anche al piano strategico per le STEM. È un po' quello che a livello nazionale l'Italia ha cercato di fare a partire dal piano nazionale di ripresa e di resilienza, come citava la vicepresidente Sberna e come è stato detto prima, con 3 obiettivi principali: consolidare le competenze scientifiche fin dalla scuola primaria, quindi fin dalla giovane età, modernizzare i percorsi universitari, adattandoli alla transizione digitale, e rafforzare il legame fra ricerca, innovazione e sistema produttivo. Credo che la riflessione più importante che sia stata fatta finora, io posso soltanto ripeterla, è quella che occorre creare una cinghia di trasmissione efficace fra i luoghi del sapere, i luoghi dell'apprendimento e il mondo del lavoro, il mondo dell'applicazione pratica di queste materie. Questo anche per ricollegarsi a quanto splendidamente ha espresso l'onorevole Benjumea riguardo al rapporto fra STEM e cultura umanistica, capacità e senso critico di cui devono essere dotati i cittadini, i professionisti, i lavoratori, affinché la tecnologia non sia soltanto appresa, ma sia anche governata, e governata nel modo più appropriato per le nostre società. Questa è un po' la strada che ha intrapreso l'Italia con le linee guida fissate a seguito del PNRR, 1.200 milioni di euro di investimenti per creare laboratori digitali nelle scuole, per la formazione dei docenti anche nell'utilizzo dell'intelligenza artificiale, che è il grande, credo, convitato di pietra di tutti questi ragionamenti, per un orientamento precoce anche per i giovani, per sapere orientarsi poi nelle scelte accademiche. E per colmare chiaramente, come è stato detto, il divario di genere che tuttora esiste. Vorrei citare altre 2 però iniziative recentemente assunte in Italia dal Governo e dal Parlamento: l'approvazione della legge sull'intelligenza artificiale, entrata in vigore ad ottobre di quest'anno, una legge che, oltre a dare un quadro di attuazione del regolamento dell'Unione Europea sull'intelligenza artificiale, fissa anche alcune linee di tendenza propriamente nazionale, ad esempio quelle di incentivare il settore pubblico e il settore privato a percorsi di continuo apprendimento e di continua formazione proprio nel settore dell'intelligenza artificiale, incentivi fiscali per l'adozione di sistemi di intelligenza artificiale e creazione di poli di eccellenza pubblico-privato, sempre nella linea di pensiero che citavo prima, in termini di creare una cinghia di trasmissione fra i luoghi del sapere e dell'apprendimento e il mondo del lavoro. Ultima iniziativa che desidero citare è la riforma recente dell'istruzione tecnico-professionale, con il nuovo percorso 4+2 degli istituti tecnico-scientifici, fatta appositamente per cercare di colmare quello che è stato individuato come una necessità di colmare una mancanza di circa 80.000 profili STEM annui. In tutto questo si incardina questo strumento straordinario che è il rapporto dell'Osservatorio UE STEM, straordinario perché viene dal basso, perché ha allo stesso tempo una natura orizzontale e verticale: orizzontale perché attraversa vari settori della società, verticale perché va dritto al punto della questione con le domande poste agli attori che si suppone debbano essere quelli che avvisano e avvertono della carenza oppure dei punti di forza sui quali continuare a lavorare. Per cui, dalla rappresentanza permanente dell'Unione Europea si guarda con grande interesse a questo esercizio, si prende atto con piacere che ormai dura da alcuni anni e incoraggiamo Deloitte a portarlo ancora avanti nel contesto europeo, in collaborazione col Parlamento, e può contare anche sul Sistema Italia presente a Bruxelles. Grazie.
Thanks to Alberto Labella. And so we are mentioning this report of the STEM Observatory. So now I give the floor to Guido Borsani, that he will explain what is this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonardo. Honorable members of the European Parliament and distinguished guests, I want to begin by thanking President Metsola for an unwavering commitment to education and skills development across Europe. My gratitude also goes to Vice President Pina Picerno and Isabel Benjumea for hosting today's conference, Vice President Antonella Sberna and Councillor Alberto Labella for setting an important framework for our discussion. I also thank offer his closing remarks later today. It is an honor to present the findings of the third edition of our European STEM Observatory. Before we dive into our findings, let me acknowledge something important. The European Union is taking STEM education seriously. The Union of Skills Initiative and the STEM Education Strategic Plan show that the Commission recognizes what our research confirms. STEM skills are not optional. They are essential for Europe's future, for competitiveness, for innovation, and for strategic autonomy. The Commission's 2030 targets are ambitious: 32% of tertiary students in STEM fields, with at least 2 out of 5 being female. These targets align closely with the challenges our observatory has identified. They use 3-pillar strategy: lead, level up, and lift barriers. Resonates deeply with what we have found. Our research complements these policy efforts. We provide evidence from the ground, from students, young workers, universities, and companies across 10 European countries. We ask not just what the challenge is, but why they persist. The STEM Observatory, conducted by the Deloitte Italian Foundation and the Deloitte Central Mediterranean Public Policy Center, has been analyzing STEM education in Italy and Europe since 2020. We have 3 clear objectives. First, provide evidence that encourages equal access to STEM education and helps young people enter the workforce. Second, identify concrete actions that support STEM choices and encourage reskilling through technical, scientific, and digital skills. Third, raise awareness of the cultural and socioeconomic barriers that block access to STEM education and careers. Our research examines key topics: how students choose their educational path, the biases and stereotypes that shape those choices, who guides them, what deters them from STEM, the gender gap, mobility patterns among STEM students and workers, and crucially, how STEM enables a just and sustainable transition for everyone. This third edition is based on extensive primary research. Over 11,000 students and young workers interviewed, 660 companies surveyed, 10 European countries: Italy, Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Malta, the Netherlands, Romania, Spain, and the United Kingdom. 12 Italian universities with in-depth interviews. Comprehensive desk analysis from Eurostat, CEDEFOP, OECD, and PISA data. Let me start with a sobering fact. Only 26.5% of European university students study STEM. This figure has barely changed in a decade, even as demand for STEM skills has exploded. Within STEM, the distribution is uneven. Engineering, 52%. Natural science, mathematics and statistics, 26.8% of STEM students. Information and communication technology, 20.6%. But here is the real concern. ICT enrollment is alarmingly low. Just 9.6% of male students and 2% of female students. But what drives STEM choices? Our research reveals something encouraging. 46% of STEM students choose these fields because they are genuinely interested in. Career and salary prospects rank second and 33%. Students choose STEM because they care about it, not just for money. Yet we found a troubling paradox. 6 out of 10 non-STEM students had considered STEM or would consider it. Among those who decide against it, 1 in 3 believe STEM is too difficult or they lack the aptitude. This perception, whether real or not, is a major barrier we must address. One factor stands out above all others: family influence. 51% of STEM students cite family as the main influence. Among young STEM workers, this rises to 60%. This finding is crucial. If we want to promote STEM, we must engage families. The labor market sends a clear message. Companies cannot find the STEM talent they need. More than 1 in 2 companies report difficulty finding the right STEM profiles. The most sought-after skills are in engineering, 63% of large companies and 47% of SMEs need them, followed by science and technology. Competition for STEM talent is global and fierce. 1 in 3 companies say finding and keeping STEM staff is difficult because of international competition. 6 out of 10 companies acknowledge they need to offer more competitive salaries to attract these professionals. Young STEM workers are mobile and entrepreneurial. 7 out of 10 young workers, rising to 8 out of 10 among STEM workers, expect to change jobs within 3 years. More than 1 in 3 young STEM workers are highly likely to move abroad for work. What drives this mobility? Economic prospects, yes, but also flexibility and work-life balance. STEM professionals have distinctive priorities. 29% want to work in an international dynamic environment, compared with 17% of non-STEM workers. 18% value a company's ethical integrity and sustainability commitment, compared with 11% of non-STEM workers. The entrepreneurial spirit is striking. 80% of young STEM workers plan to start their own business, compared with only 9% of non-STEM workers. This is both an opportunity and a challenge for European companies and policymakers. The gender gap. This is the most persistent and concerning finding of our observatory. Women make up 55% of all university students, but only 32% of STEM students. The gap varies dramatically by discipline. Natural sciences, mathematics and statistics, 50% female, near parity. Engineering, 27% female. ICT, 20% female. When we look at all tertiary students, 40% of male students enroll in STEM matters. Only 15% of female students do the same. In ICT, the gap is widest, 9.6% of male students versus 2% of female students. Why does this gap exist? Our research reveals the roots. 1 in 2 young people believe cultural legacies and gender divisions of labor are the main cause. More than 1 in 3 companies identify family cultural legacies as the primary barrier. Half of STEM students and workers believe cultural stereotypes associating science and technology with male roles hinder girls' mathematics preparation from early childhood. The consequences are severe. Almost 2 out of 3 young people have witnessed discrimination against women. Among female STEM students and workers, this rises to 7 out of 10. Most concerning, 48% of female STEM students and 55% of young female STEM workers claim they have personally experienced gender discrimination during their studies or work. Companies acknowledge the problem. 1 in 2 companies recognize that gender discrimination occurs in STEM fields. Of these, more than 8 out of 10 says it harms the organization, and 3 out of 10 report it causes employee dissatisfaction. The impact extends beyond the single company. More than 5 out of 10 workers strongly believe that gender prejudices hinder their country's organizational competitiveness, a figure that rises to 6 out of 10 among STEM workers. What are the solutions? Nearly half of young people believe that promoting female role models and ensuring equal pay are the most effective. 70% of companies that acknowledge the problem say change must start with the state, through public policies, parental support, and tax incentives. Looking forward, our research reveals both optimism and concern about STEM's role in addressing major transitions. On multidisciplinarity, 6 out of 10 STEM workers see value in combining technical and scientific subjects with humanities. 6 out of 10 large companies and almost 5 out of 10 SMEs consider this vital for their objectives. On strategic sectors, young workers identify 3 priorities: science, health and medicine 43%, energy independence 38%, artificial intelligence and machine learning 32%. Companies agree 75% believe STEM will drive continuous innovation and 55% see it like to be the key for digital transformation. On artificial intelligence, the outlook is mixed. More than 6 out of 10 companies say AI will increase demand of STEM profile. Yet, 1 in 2 young people worry about AI's impact on employment, a concern strongest among STEM-educated workers. On the green transition, the evidence is compelling. Almost 9 out of 10 young Europeans believe STEM skills are decisive for the green transition. More than 4 out of 10 say combining STEM and AI skills will help address this challenge, and 7 out of 10 European companies strongly believe decarbonization requires new skills. Almost 8 out of 10 large companies believe public policies promoting STEM access are essential for reaching net zero. On public sector transformation, STEM has great potential for modernizing public administration. Almost 6 out of 10 STEM workers and 5 out of 10 STEM students agree. And notably, 29% of STEM students and 36% of STEM workers are very or extremely interested in public sector careers. This interest represents a significant opportunity to modernize European public administration. And finally, based on these findings, we have identified 3 critical drivers for change. Driver number 1, promoting STEM education in Europe. Changing how STEM is perceived requires action. First, to raise awareness through role models and school counseling, particularly targeting families given their decisive influence. Second, increase student mobility through programs like Erasmus. And third, champion interdisciplinary degrees that combine STEM with humanities, broadening perspectives and opportunities. Driver number 2, closing the STEM gender gap. This requires action at every stage. First, encourage female access to STEM through mentorship and role models from early childhood. Second, promote fairness in careers by eliminating pay gaps and increasing transparency. And third, strengthen public policy that support parenting, making careers more accessible for women. The last driver, the third one, is shaping talent for the future. We mean integrate digital, AI, and sustainability skills into curricula while raising awareness about ethical and responsible use. Promote continuous education and micro-credentials to support upskilling and reskilling. And expand awareness of public sector careers for STEM talent, emphasizing social impact and innovation potential to help modernize the public sector while meeting young professional aspirations. Honorable members, distinguished guests, the evidence is clear. STEM education is fundamental to Europe's competitiveness, innovation capacity, and the ability to address the defining challenges of our time: digital transformation, the green transition, and strategic autonomy. Our research reveals persistent barriers, but these challenges are manageable through collective actions. At Deloitte, we are committed to supporting the next generation of students and workers by working together across borders, sectors, and disciplines. We can ensure that Europe develops the STEM talent it needs to thrive, while making sure access is truly equitable and inclusive. Thank you for your attention.
So, thanks to Guido Borsani. So now it's more clear what we are discussing. And now we open the panel, the discussion. We have a very, very important guest with us. I begin with Mr. Frans van Dale. I hope that the pronunciation is good because I'm not good with, with the Flemish pronunciation. Perfetto, okay. So we greet also Pina Picerno. And Mr. Frans van Dale is a diplomatic and also used to be the head of the cabinet of the former president of the European Council, Herman Van Rompuy. So, considering your experience, do you think that which are the main issues for Europe in order to challenge also with the other huge competitor, as we mentioned before, China and the United States? Because today we don't want to, fight the humanistic formation, but maybe I think that Europe is a bit late in this challenge. Mr. Van Dalen.
Well, you are often quite late, and not only in this particular field, I must say.
Just the microphone. Okay.
If I compare Europe to the United States, where I served as ambassador, one of the things which strikes me is the following. There are every year about 800,000 STEM degrees which are delivered in the United States, 800,000. I didn't find the comparable metrics as far as Europe is concerned, but my point is not exactly there. Of this 800,000 STEM degrees, 60% go to foreigners. It's much higher than the foreigners we have in Europe, at least if you do not count the French who come to study in Belgium and vice versa. So why is this particular gap is of course very, very worrisome. A number of factors. Some factors we cannot basically change. The fact that in the United States they use the English language is something which attracts a lot of people, particularly from Asian countries, and explains the high degree, I'm told, of foreigners in the American system. Research and development perspectives and ambitions are easily covered. When I was serving in the United States, the endowment of Harvard was somewhere in the 300 billion. I mean that if I compare that, I'm involved with the university in Leuven. If I compare with the money we have, it's of course next to nothing. So the funding is important. There is, however, since Trump became president, we see particularly in Europe a hesitation of young, talented, gifted youngsters to go to the United States. I'm part of the Belgian American Educational Foundation. We distribute 80 stipends every year. In the past, it was always easy enough to find first-class students who were accepted in major American universities. But lately, it has become more difficult for us to find here people who are really interested to go and study in the United States. So there is a Trump factor which changes a bit the picture. Of course, having a sufficient STEM profiles is essential for what we are in Europe. I mean, how can we modernize defense? How can we remain top of the trade as far as healthcare is concerned? Think of mobility. All this needs huge numbers of STEM profiles. And when they are there, think of the European Space Agency, think of Airbus. then we are really doing quite well. So it is essential. What can be done? Most of the tools to do something about increasing the number of STEM profiles are in the hands of national authorities. Although I think the European Union could help its member states to improve that situation. In certain regards, they are doing that already. They are very much pushing gender equality, and rightly so. In the figures in the report, you find some figures about the difference in number of women and number of men in STEM, and that is worrisome for moral reasons. It's of course worrisome, but as well productively, economically, it is quite worrisome. And the European Union tries to change in all member states a bit the mentality, the state of mind, which is very influential there. I think more, as it was mentioned, more exchange, more cross-fertilization is something which Europe can be doing. I'm quite happy to see how much money is foreseen in the projected the future financial framework for the Erasmus program, which was already doubled in the times of Van Rompuy. And now what the Commission proposes is a manifold of that. And that should, because before we start studying in the United States, maybe we should think on how to study inside the European Union. Essentially, it is a field where the European Union could be more productive if the member states allow the Brussels institution from doing a bit more. And this is, I renegotiated the Treaty of Nice for Belgium, which is probably the worst treaty ever negotiated. And we had this discussion, particularly with the southern part of Germany, how far the Union can involve itself in education and in teaching. And there are resistance. We should overcome these resistance, because it's only by cooperation and combining the things we have that we will be successful. That's some of the things which I have on my mind.
So thanks to Mr. Van Dalen also for his experience. You mentioned also the gap between women and men in this area. So I give the floor to Charlene Lambert, is the founding board member and treasurer of WAP, that is based on the fact of the women. And so, Mrs. Lambert, we are living a moment in which there is this challenge, but there is in particular this challenge among the women and the men. Do you think that Europe is doing something in order to reduce this gap and to achieve this goal, or we are a bit late?
Thank you so much for your kind introduction, and I'm very honored to be here today representing WEP and with all of the wonderful topics that I've heard already. The report, the observatory is fantastic. And I just wanted to start by saying that, just to put it in perspective, we have the chance to sit in this room today to speak about STEM and its relationship to gender equality. And unfortunately, in the US, this is almost taboo now. And so I feel very honored also to be here in Europe at this building to be speaking on this and to be discussing it with all of you. So I'd like to share a few insights regarding STEM and finance, actually. It's a topic that we've been working on for the past year, and we believe that the topic of STEM is very important as it relates to finance, and that they're inseparable. You can have the best idea in the world, You can have a brilliant piece of technology or a breakthrough solution, but if you can't get funding, this idea just won't take off. And that's the situation we're in right now with a lot of women. Women receive less than 2.5% of venture capital funding, which is a crime. At the same time, women make up only 30% of the global STEM workforce. And yet we face this massive shortage of technical professionals. And reports that I've read estimate that it will be nearly 4 million by 2027. Just as an aside, I live in the Netherlands, and I'm aware of there's a new association of Indian women entrepreneurs in the Netherlands. They're 2 years old, and they have a mailing list of 500 women on their list. And that gives you an idea of where the technical expertise is coming from in the Netherlands. We have this huge shortage, and we know that if we can just even fill part of the gap with getting more women in STEM, that the EU could have a GDP increase of 260 billion euros. And that's not a small boost, that would be a real transformation. The question is, why are girls not studying STEM? And I must admit that when I was a little girl, I had no idea about STEM, and I had no role models to guide me into STEM. I can see them nowadays, though, but you know, I'm honored to be here as an entrepreneur and as representing women entrepreneurs. But they aren't choosing STEM because they aren't capable, they aren't curious, and they're not creative. It starts very early. At the age of 7 or 8 already, I have a friend who was telling me that her daughter, at the age of not even 8 years old, had already decided that she was not able to do a STEM study or an IT study. She didn't have role models. She was getting, some of the boys were telling her that she's not good enough for that, and she just didn't see the encouragement. So the message that she got was the world is not organized for girls, but there is a possibility that it can be organized for girls, and we can rebuild it. We already know that there are some bright spots in Europe. This includes Lithuania, Iceland, Poland, Eastern Europe. These are countries where STEM, and particularly STEM graduates, are increasing. And we know that when it comes to STEM, that topics like health, environment, safety, design, and community impact are drawing women in large numbers. That those types of topics that have a care function are interesting for women. So in effect, women still do want to shape the world. Now, what we've talked about at WEP is, a soft landing for every girl and every woman. I've worked in foreign direct investment for many years, and we know that when we want to attract a company, a special company to our country, that we need to put some kind of a soft landing package together. And I'm thinking of a soft landing package for girls in grade school, in high school, and women entering the workforce. Girls should see female scientists in their textbooks. They should be able to join STEM clubs and feel welcome in them, not intimidated. They should have teachers encouraging them with real examples of women changing the world. In higher education, they should have some scholarships, some mentorships, and communities of women supporting them. And in Europe right now, we have loads of women entrepreneurship organizations, such as those that are members of the Women Entrepreneurship Platform. These organizations are at the front lines. They can support women entrepreneurs and women in STEM, and they should be supported also. When they're entering the workforce, women should be offered entrepreneurship or apprenticeships that lead to real jobs. And if women have to leave their job to raise a family, they should be offered some kind of a returning to the workforce program where they can re-enter and skill up their technologies. And also workplaces that truly offer flexibility and fairness are important. Now, what about female founders? We need to show them that there is a path for them and that their ideas matter, and that we want more STEM enterprises coming on the market. Now, why does this matter to us? It matters because we know that investing in women is one of the smartest economic decisions we can make. And there's an estimated 1.7 trillion funding gap for women-owned SMEs globally. So even closing part of the gap would make a difference. The EU has committed to a fair digital transition. That's through the Declaration of Digital Rights and Principles. It says that the digital future must be inclusive and that everyone should have the opportunity to gain the skills they need. So this means that even little girls in rural areas, that women changing careers at 40, mothers who are returning to a STEM job after a break, and women founders, that they should all have the opportunity to help influence STEM in Europe. Now, I have a few more words. I've been working for the past 3 years with my colleagues at WEB on the Horizon Europe Glass Ceiling program, which is coming to an end in 2 days. We'll have our final meeting. And it's supporting women, rural women and women farmers to increase the number of socio-ecological innovations that women can lead in agriculture. And so I just want to mention a few of the thoughts from that project. It has 71 recommendations that we'll be presenting next Thursday. 2 of them I'd like to discuss. One is that women have the possibility to lead in these fields, and that the other topic is that even though we have a gender equality strategy, our head of our program, Sally Shorthall, Professor Sally Shorthall, has said that it's aspirational and that it lacks enforceability. So we have this gender equality strategy, but there's no enforceability. And other colleagues at ADL, which is the Association for Agriculture and Innovation in Local Development, have called for agriculture to be valued on par with STEM as a discipline, so that it gets covered in the same way as other STEM topics do. And this is also because of the persistent gender inequality in the field of agri-food and agriculture. So I hope that these thoughts have been helpful to you. And whenever I speak with girls and women, I hear a very similar topic, a similar answer. They tell me they want to solve problems, they want to help people, and they want to work. They want to have work that has a meaning. And I think that STEM is not all just about numbers, but it's also about the perspective, the creativity, the empathy, and the care that women can bring to STEM. And so I think here in this room we have everybody representing all the different fields that we need to make changes and to accelerate changes. And I would like very much to continue this conversation and to start making some real progress. Thank you so much.
So, thanks to Charlene Lambert. And now Silvana Perfetti, she is the chair of Deloitte of Central Mediterranean, so we stay always in the area of the south. And so from your perspective leading people strategies and now chairing Deloitte's Central Mediterranean Partnership Council, what makes an organization attractive to ambitious STEM talent in today's competitive environment? Silvana.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here with all of you and also to contribute to such a meaningful dialogue. So thank you. I believe that we are in a complex scenario and in highly competitive landscape for the STEM students and workers, and that the organization should go beyond the traditional standard incentive to attract them. STEM students and workers could be both an opportunity for sure, but also a challenge for us and for our organization. The Deloitte report shows that in this context, attracting and retaining STEM workers and students requires more than a competitive pay. For sure, it remains an important factor in terms of competitive advantage, but they have a unique, distinctive priority in choosing their employer. And based on our EU Observatory, they place a significant value on the opportunity to work in a dynamic context, in international environment, able to sustain innovation and continuous learning. In Deloitte, we found, as our People and Purpose leader Paolo Galletti knows, that the most motivated, engaged STEM colleagues are those working in a multidisciplinary project. In context, international team and cross-border project, but mainly in a multidisciplinary project, able to combine their tech skills with other disciplines and with a greater purpose, scope of work, and impact. Ethical integrity, sustainability, the need to have an impact on our environment and our society are key factors in their choice. And the organization should refine and redefine their employee value proposition, guarantee a clear career path, give them the opportunity to access and attend upskilling program, in terms of continuous learning, because they would like also to invest in their education, and the organization should leverage this approach. It's important from an organization point of view, build a real inclusive culture and workplace, and close the gap, mainly gender gap, mainly on STEM discipline. And I believe that it's important to engage them in a multidisciplinary project and collaboration, able to create connection between their technical skill and their need to have an impact on our society and on our environment. Also because the STEM competencies are useful to manage the dual transition, green and digital transition, and this way to have an impact on our society. So I believe that we should work on 3 main pillars: flexibility, purpose, and growth, to create a new employee value proposition in line with the STEM workers and student needs, and unlock value for them and for our organization.
Thanks to Silvana. Maybe we can just come back for a few minutes with Guido Borsani. You know, I must mention also my personal experience. I have an high school diploma in electronic and telecommunication, and then I switched to the journalism. So I'm a little bit split between those two worlds, so I don't want to demonize not the humanistic formation, but you know, do you think that also this important report could help the policymaker in order to reduce this gap and to boost also this race toward such an important goal?
Yes, this is one of our goals, because we think that, as Antonella Sberna said at the very beginning, when politicians have evidence and data, I think that they could discuss much more effectively and debate from different point of view, different culture, different perspective, even different political opinions about the fact. But the fact has to remain the fact, and our effort is to complement this kind of work with a lot of data, evidences, and our effort originally was to shift from the static data analysis we already know to go in a different field, that is the determinants of this kind of behavior. And I think that it could be even more clear when we think to the gender gap. We talked a lot about the gender gap, etc. And when we look at the data and the evidences we showed before, I think that we have to be aware of what has been already done, the results we already obtained, but we have to be clear on the fact that we are in the middle of a journey, because something is happening. Probably we are, all the stakeholders are at risk of frustration, let me say. I mean, because there were a lot of investments, a lot of effort has been made. The situation, I'm sure, is completely different compared to 20 years ago, but it's not yet what we expect. So there is this kind of imbalance, but the evidence is a support that help us to stick to the data, to the fact that we already set the direction, and we all have to be honest and determined in pursuing this journey and going toward this direction. Thank you.
So thanks to Guido Borsani, and we are arriving to the end of this event. I want to also to greet Roberto Viola, Director General of DG Connect. Hi. So before I give the floor to Roberto Viola, just closing remarks with Fabio Pompei, CEO of Deloitte Central Mediterranean. As Borsani said, we are in the middle of this journey, so it's not an end. It's impossible to mark an end. So what can you say about this?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, of course, let me thank from my side as well Vice President Pina Picerno and Isabel Benjumea for hosting this today conference and give us the opportunity to present our report in this institutional framework. And of course, a special thanks to Mr. Labella, to the Vice President Antonella Sberna, and finally to Charlene Lambert for giving us their thoughts and their insights, and of course to Mr. Viola. Just to share some consideration that emerged from the presentation and the talks that we had this afternoon. As Guido said at the beginning, this observatory started in 2020 during the COVID period with the goal to uncover the barriers to accessing STEM. But above all, the real goal was to, let me say, identify the pathways that can lead to a lasting transformative change. And indeed, what we have seen during these past years is that, numbers are very consistent, I would say, unfortunately, in the sense that we are not seeing a real change of the trends. We saw the figures, and actually even those figures are not only consistent, but if we talk about the number of the female girls that are accessing to the STEM disciplines, so we should make a significant differences, because as you have seen, particularly in the ICT and in So the concept of learning, which is, you know, something completely different from the past. So, to conclude, I think that the private sectors and business have to make their own step in this regard. As Deloitte, we are strongly committed to do that. We hired last year around 100,000 people in the world, around the world, in the 150 countries where we are. Most of them are from STEM disciplines. As we already have said during this debate, actually we are looking for many more of them. And we are investing in education, so spending a huge amount of hours in terms of trainings in our 7 universities, Deloitte University that we have around the world. One of them is actually here in Belgium, in Hulp. So just to conclude, I think that we can leave today with a renewed sense of purpose from one side, with a deeper understanding that we have a very transformational era in front of us, ahead of us, and each of us, policymakers, business, educators, we need to commit to, move from shared vision, because the vision is clearly shared, but we need to have tangible outcomes. So thank you all for your attention, and of course to Mr. Viola for his final remark.
Thanks to Fabio Pompei. As soon as we mentioned the artificial intelligence, Roberto Viola arrived. So I will give the floor to Roberto Viola. We realized a lot of interview on this topic, and compare, for instance, to the last report of STEM, artificial intelligence was not so, present in our life. Yesterday, for instance, Mario Draghi mentioned in the Polytechnic School in Milan the importance of investing in this area, because sometimes we realize that Europe is a bit late, but we are trying to avoid to reduce this gap. Do you think that it's possible, or it's already too late?
Thanks very much. First of all, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank Deloitte for this work, which, as I could see, I could not be at the beginning, but I read with a lot of interest. I mean, the outcome of the observatory, and it's a very, very, very good work. And let me start from the outcome of the observatory, because there's something that Mr. Pompei said that I want to underline. So the evidence is relatively compelling. I mean, only 26% of students choose STEM. We have a population which is in balance in terms of gender. Actually, more the female population is 51%, but I mean, only a third is actually selecting STEMs. So we have a complete imbalance when it comes to gender. Now, STEM in school is declining instead of increasing. And the paradox of this is that when we look at certain professions, we look in security management, 300% growth on demand. Business analytics, 270% growth. System design, 195% growth. So how is it possible that the offer from the market is increasing in terms of STEM, and actually our students are not that compelled? They feel that this is not the career for them. There's a bit of this contradiction has been present for the last 10 years. It's not new. There's been though an acceleration in both sense of the decline of the interest and on the request for specific talents in the area of STEM. Now, the European Commission is trying hard, I mean, to find the good solutions. First of all, we have a policy document which is called the Union of Skills, which has targets for STEM, and in many countries, I mean, we are below these targets. And then my DG invested in the Digital Europe program a significant amount of money in specific master's degrees, with the idea, a little bit like in business school, to federate different universities to offer masters in AI, in cybersecurity, in data analytics, and in many other disciplines which we see, I mean, the market resonates. These courses, master courses, are relatively expensive because you need good talent, I mean, to teach the future talents. And at the same time, I mean, the number of students may vary, so the economies of scale can only be achieved if you group the universities together. So I would share the feeling that all of this is still not enough. Now, the question, how AI plays into this. Now, the first thing that I'm sure to many of you comes to your mind is, what is the problem? With agentic AI, we will invent the agentic STEM, agent number 1, agent number 2, agent number 3, and we have solved the problem. So it's cheaper for the companies because the agents, I mean, work 24 hours a day, don't have holidays, don't go to the boss to complain they want to do a career. All these kind of things, I mean, are solved. Our society has the perfect solution to the problem of shortage of skills. I don't think it works this way. I mean, take something which has been in the news this week, this very specific issue of the software of the Airbus. Now, this is ultra complicated story because it's the two computers that move the ailerons, I mean, with the software release that needed, actually downgrade from the previous version. Now, there you need a lot of skills. I mean, first of all, the aviation agency needs to know what it's all about. Secondly, I mean, the people working on the software, the people controlling these people, the decision making about what to do about calling back the release, the test, and all of this. Do you think for a split second that such a critical thing cannot be demanded to artificial generative AI that makes an hallucination every 10 decisions? I mean, we all are always surprised, I mean, what AI can do, and I'm sure this Christmas dinner, many of you will entertain the family with nice cartoons and all these kind of things. But one thing is doing cartoons, one thing is playing in inverted commas with the life of people on board of a plane, or, I mean, in medical diagnosis. I mean, I'm sure that every doctor in 10 years from now will have an AI co-pilot, but a co-pilot, I mean, the key point, remaining with the aviation analogy, in aviation, there must be always a pilot that can take over. So we are in the infancy of this technology. I think with people that have the right training, AI can do wonders in the hands of someone that is a quantum physicist or a biochemist or a specialized doctor. So I think clearly the area of agentic AI, of super algorithm, does not replace very specific skills. I mean, of course, what starts to be a bit in question is skills which are easily replicable by artificial intelligence. And that's why, I mean, as Mr. Popey was saying, retraining on the job, I mean, lifelong learning, these are all elements that play into this. So I think by no means the area of artificial intelligence is the end of the era of skills, especially, I mean, very specialized skills in science, economy, mathematics. And there was an article yesterday on Financial Times about mathematicians and mathematics. I mean, because all these algorithms are mathematics at the end of the day. And the power of mathematics to explain what's going on, and the superiority of somebody having higher mathematical education to understand better what's going on. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of firms today in this journey of transformation in adopting AI. We have, in this Apply AI strategy we published, promoted the concept of AI first. So every single company, every single administration, before embarking on a transformation project, should ask, can AI help? How I can integrate in my decision-making AI? But you do it asking another AI, I would say, not the right. Of course, we are all humans here, so I mean, we are tempted to say yes, of course, ask the human. But I honestly think when looking at, I mean, the performance of AI systems, the need to fine-tune and train AI systems, the need to label the data. You have seen a startup in California. I mean, it's actually recruiting doctors to label data, medical data, and paying those doctors quite well. Because, I mean, labeling medical data for AI, it's a very delicate thing. Because if AI eats synthetic data, continues to eat the data generated by other algorithms, as you know, I mean, the AI will start to flatten off and start to continuously hallucinate. So you need plenty of skills, plenty of data to use a tool, which is probably one of the most fantastic things ever invented, to make it function. So I think my point being, in the era of AI, STEM and, I mean, a gender balance, I mean, a population of people having skills, STEM type skills, is even more important. Thank you very much.
So, thanks to Roberto Viola, we are in time as a miracle. We began with 20 minutes late and we close in time. So I would like to thanks to everyone, and thanks again, and thanks to Deloitte. Thank you. Bene, molto bene, sì sì.